Hi, this is Jolene Andersen. I play Ada Wong, in the Resident Evil 2 remake, and you are listening to the Residents of Evil podcast.
Hey, welcome everybody. My guest today is Jolene Andersen. She is the sort of new and sort of returning Ada Wong for Resident Evil 2 Remake. How you doing, Jolene?
Hey, hi everybody. I'm great. Thanks. How you doing?
Jolene, can you let the fans know a little bit about yourself? Kind of introduce yourself to them?
Yeah, sure. I'm a model and an actress. I live in Los Angeles. I do a lot of these really fun video games. I do a lot of action films. I do a lot of TV and commercials. And I live in California, which is super cool. It's sort of like a creative hub for all this stuff. So that's kind of it. That's me.
Yeah, it's definitely the right place to be.
Yeah. And the weather's nice.
Yeah, it is.
Great place to live.
You've been in a lot of stuff, actually. Just looking over your history, you've played on a lot of shows. I've seen, actually, like Criminal Minds. I remember that episode that you were in because I watched that show.
That was a good episode. I got lucky.
Yeah, you were pretty wicked in that episode.
It's memorable.
Yeah, it really is. That's definitely one that sticks with you. And for people who don't know, you're new, kind of, to the Resident Evil universe, but you're not necessarily new. You actually did the motion cap for our femme fatale Ada Wong back in Resident Evil Damnation, as well as the motion cap for Hunnigan.
Yeah. And that's when I kind of found out all about Ada, and I found out about the franchise. I wasn't that familiar with it outside of, the American versions that are sort of like, they're done in a completely different way. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and that was like a animated feature, right? So it wasn't the video game. I didn't realize there was a video game franchise sort of attached to the whole thing. And yeah, that was my first foray into it. And she's just so much fun. I was just so excited to kind of like read the breakdown of her and then kind of check her out on the fan sites. And then when I auditioned for her, I was just, incredibly enthusiastic. And when they gave me that role, it was so much fun. So yeah, that was my first little dip in, and I couldn't be more excited to bring her back to life for such like a huge reprisal of a franchise,
Yeah, she's an interesting character. When she was first introduced back in 1978, there's the whole storyline for her is she's supposed to die at the end, and then she doesn't, but she gets attached to Leon. And yeah. Leon is the kind of the poster boy for Resident Evil. He's been in so many different entries between the games and the CG movies that she's had almost as much time as he has, which is amazing.
Yeah, she's like the secret lead underneath it all.
Right.
I think she's a cool character too, because she still is a very much, she's always just beating the shit out of people, taking names. She's just this cold killer, and she's always doing it, in heels and lingerie. So, there's something kind of kitschy about that, but I love that. And I love that she's kind of complex and that you never kind of know like who she's working for or what her motives are or what's going on, like how this relationships that she has with Leon, you're never quite sure what, she's up to and how much of it is real and how much of it isn't. So I think that's really fun.
Yeah, very mysterious.
Yeah, she's mysterious and she's sexy and she's almost like a fantasy character, I know that the zombies are all fantasy characters, but she's just sort of this odd one out. I really love her. She's cool.
Yeah, everybody else kind of has their place where they fit, like the good cop or the tough young woman looking for her brother, and all these characters fit within the universe. But Ada's that one that's kind of always on the outside. Like I said, she has a mystery to her. You don't know what her real intentions are. You don't know if you could trust her. You want to like her, and you do like her at the same time. You don't like her because some of the things that she does.
Yeah. So you can imagine that's really fun to play. It's really fun for all of us to get together and be like, well, the writers, the directors, us, it's really fun to sort of hash that out like day to day. It's really fun. Yeah. It's a gift as an actor to have something like that.
So going back towards Damnation, getting the parts, I'm just curious, how were you cast?
Well, they put out casting notices, and then if it's something that you're interested in, you have to pitch yourself. So I did that because it was something that I did as myself. My agents, they don't always pay attention to these kind of projects.
Right.
So I kind of pitched myself, and then it's, a long, grueling process of casting. They see so many people.
Right.
So I spent hours and hours in a first casting, and then they bring you back, and then they bring you back, and then finally I booked it and I flew out to Japan to shoot it. And like I said, I was completely new. I had no idea what was going on.
Mhm.
And what's interesting, when they cast these things, they're all super top secret. So you have no idea what the project is, what your character's name is. You sort of get these like faux fake scripts that sort of put you into a similar world,
Oh,
but you
okay.
don't know what you're doing. So I just kind of showed up in Japan without a script or an inkling of what was going on. And then, they hand you a book and they're like, here, you're Ada Wong. This is the film and this is the franchise. And it's like all this big, exciting surprise.
Right. So
That's how I booked it. I had to fight for it.
Yeah. How many? So in the casting process, first of all, if it was being done in Japan, how did it come across to you?
Well, because the casting office is here, and I think
okay.
through Boom Zap Boom, that company. So the production house is here. So the kind of the American contingent is here, but then they have a Japanese contingent within that also. So they're doing a lot of their production stuff here, and they're doing their casting here. And I think they cast here because Hollywood or Los Angeles is sort of like the talent hub.
Right.
I work on a lot of projects that go other places, and I always ask them why they spend so much time and money coming here to pick up people, not just actors, but below the line folks, because they just believe that the talent's here. So they'll do all of that here, and then they just and then they'll send you out there to work with all of their people.
Okay.
Which is lucky for us.
Yeah, definitely. And I watched the behind the scenes extras for that movie, and it's definitely interesting to see like you're working with a Japanese crew, you're doing the mocap, and it was so contrasting because there were no subtitles for what I was watching. And they're all speaking in Japanese, and then it cuts to like you and Kevin Dorman, and you guys are just pure English. And it's like. And it was also cool to see the behind the scenes stuff. Like you are acting out, all the lines and you're doing all the motions and stuff. And it was a very physical movie. So I'm wondering, what did you have to do to get prepared for like the physicality of the stunt work, and how much of that was you, as far as, because she's a very physical person. She does a lot of like back handsprings and martial arts, and her and Leon tussle a few times.
No. They hired a very skilled, amazing team of like ninjas to do that. The guys and girls are all local. And they're like sort of like they're genuine like stunt folks. Like we can, I can do so much. I can do, some of the combat, and I can handle weapons, and you can do falls and things like that. But then they bring in the real deal, and those guys are phenomenal. They're just incredible. And it's funny. I just want to say, going back to what you said about like, no one speaks any English or whatever, the auditions are like that too. You sit in a room full of, there's one interpreter, and then you do your bit, and then the director spends about 5 minutes speaking in Japanese to someone else. And then the interpreter is like, could you try that from the other side of the room? And you're like, oh, well, what did he say? Like, what?
Yeah, right.
And then when we get on set, no one speaks English. So you have one interpreter, and then you have all of the directors and the technical team all kind of talking amongst themselves, and then sort of interpreting back to you what they feel is, your direction. Which is fascinating, and what a great way to work. I love that. I really enjoy working like that. But that they're capable of making something so amazing with all these different elements to it. And
right.
I just want to give them a 5-star review for doing.
Oh yeah, that's gotta be challenging, because you as an actor are wanting the feedback from your director and the rest of the team to make whatever improvements you need to make, but it has to go through a translator. So that translator has to be very good as well to pick up what the director's conveying.
Yeah, and it's hilarious because it is like 5 minutes of dialogue, and then they give you like 3 words. You're like, oh,
okay.
Okay.
So the audition was actually through a translator too. What?
Yep.
How many times do you have to go through the audition process to finally get the part?
For the film, for Damnation, twice. But they're a good 3 hour. They're like a full on. They were very thorough, and they had everyone back for that. So they have like a really, they screen people first, and then you go into a casting thing, and then they bring people back, and then they mix people up and do. So that was a couple, and that's pretty standard. That's par for the course. It's usually a first call and then a callback with the wider, larger team involved in figuring out who's who their final selects are. So.
And then as far as the script wise and what you're auditioning, what you're presenting, you didn't know it was for Resident Evil. What did they give you? What were you reading?
So they'll kind of give you a scene that sort of shows the emotion. It was probably, now that I look back on it, it's sort of like a hacked up scene. They just use a different dialogue, but you could tell it was the relationship between her and Leon. So it was her and a fallen soldier that, you're sort of supposed to assume is a friend of, they sort of give you this vague outline of what this person might mean to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have that little bit of dialogue and then a bunch of action sequence, then like the walls caving in and like zombies are coming in and you have to sort of react to that. So I think they try to pinpoint consistent elements that would occur, in the movie, in the game, and then just try to condense that into a 5-minute kind of piece and just see how you can alternate between those moments and what you can offer in those different like landscapes, so that's kind of what it is.
Okay. And
so, it's similar dialogues. They just change the name of the characters and
mix it up a little bit. So you can't, if you were familiar, you wouldn't know what it was.
I feel like other people know. Everybody but me. I'm like, oh, I don't know what this is. This is so cool. And then, and they do that every time. I did Tomb Raider. I had a great role in that. And
right.
When you get the casting, like I said, they don't tell you the name. You go to the audition, you don't know the name. They give you something different. You show up on set and you still don't know what you're doing. They're like, oh, did you get the script? And you're like, no. They're like, oh, well, this is Tomb Raider. And you're like, what? What? And am I the only one? And like other people can sniff it out because they're all, really passionate gamers, or I don't know. They've all been, a lot of the people that are in these things, as you know, have had a hand in writing some of them or being on a production team or pre-production, so they're smarter. I'm always shocked into just a beautiful surprise.
Do you know that you're going in when you get these audition parts? Are you going in just to audition for the mocap, or are you going for the full part?
Well, it depends. Now you get to do full
right.
performance,
right.
which is great. Before, when I did the film, it wasn't that way, and I didn't think that I had an option even to audition for the voice.
Okay.
So that was a bit of a disappointment because that's not as much fun, But then when I did the Tomb Raider one, then things had changed. Then you had all these cameras and these recorders and everything. You can do everything at once.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I saw this breakdown for Ada, and they were very open that it was, they mentioned the franchise, they mentioned the character. Thank God, because then I was able to kind of contact them and repitch myself
right.
For it, because they didn't reach out to me. So then it was, that was a little bit different. And then, they were very open about it, and I could tell what was going on.
Yeah, at that point you knew. I mean, like I said, you went back to it because you knew what it was, and you had the history with you. You'd already played her before. Mm-hmm. So when you were doing the mocap for Damnation and watching the behind the scenes stuff, you're acting out, you're doing all this stuff in heels, which is awesome.
Yeah. We do the mocap in heels too.
Yeah. And props to the stunt team for doing all that stunt work in heels too, because that's got to be
right?
dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
My ankles do not envy that person.
That's why I don't do it. I was like, I'm going to break my leg.
Right. But you're also reciting the lines. You're acting the part.
Yeah.
In the process of making Damnation, was there any part of you that's like, I really want to do this. I want to be the voice as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And, you are doing it. When you're doing the mocap, you have to do the dialogue word for word. And back then it would, if you mess up, everyone had to recalibrate. You had to cut the scene. You had to start over. So that was really challenging. Mm-hmm. So you are doing the part. You are doing all of the dialogue. And in the auditions, you're doing all the dialogue. So it's actually very disappointing when then you're like, oh, well, it's just my body movements. But those two lend themselves to each other. You couldn't kind of do one without the other.
Right.
Like that's sort of the way it goes. Yeah, I was really disappointed. And then, to watch it and to have someone else's voice as an actor, you're like, I wouldn't have said it like that. Like, So it's such a gift, and it's so much fun, and it's so much easier, I think, to be able to do both. Because it's all yours, and you just really get to, embody it all and really get sucked into it. You can really live through the character. And
it's acting.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's probably a disconnect when you're actually just doing the voice and you're watching something on film. You're trying to match up the lip flaps and everything and recite the lines. But when it comes to the actual mocap, you're full on acting. That's acting.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny. I guess we're just like that as actors. Because for Titanfall, I voiced Commander Sarah Briggs, and I was kind of like, "Well, who's doing the mocap? Like, how come I'm not?"
I do this too.
Match another actor, and then you're like, "Wait, this is collaborative. This is awesome. We all get to work, and it's really great." But then you do sort of start to feel license over that character. You kind of don't want someone to take that away from you, or you think that someone thinks it's you, and it's not you, and. I prefer this so much more. I think the full performance is just so much fun. And I assume it's more fun for everyone. It's got to be easier for the directors and the writers and everyone to just sort of be like, this is you. You embody everything. And we don't have to explain it to two different actors. We don't have to try to make it cohesive between two different people that are, trying to make one performance.
Right.
And that's just an assumption I make.
Yeah, it's got to be a little bit easier to act out the part in mocap. Now, does the mocap come first and then you go back and do ADR and do some voice work over it?
No, we do it all at the same time.
Oh, so it's recorded on the spot while you're performing it.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
okay,
just
cool.
like shooting a film or just like making a TV show or whatever. The only thing that we go back is when there's rewrites and things like that.
Mhm.
We're always kind of adding things or changing things up because these things go on. We've been shooting this for 3 years.
Yeah.
And I want to add, we've had to keep our mouths shut about it for 3 years. It's so horrible to have to not be able to tell anyone what you're working on.
Right. To be so excited about it, nobody can know.
What are you doing? Nothing. It's just nothing exciting.
Just hanging out.
Yeah. So we go back and we do bits and pieces like that. And of course, the little bits of gameplay and anything. So you will go back into the ADR booth and do bits and pieces and redo some things. But otherwise, no, you're doing that full performance on set and everybody's there. The whole team, the sound team is all there and we're getting it all at once.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's cool. It's awesome. Every time I work on another project, I see how far the technology's come.
Yeah.
It's mind blowing.
It really is. The advancements and the technology they're using for the new RE engine with the photorealistic scanning and everything is actually just awesome.
Yeah. Well, and I'm always like, why is it taking so long? I mean, like all of this technology is going to be obsolete by the time the game comes out. And it's funny, they are racing against the clock as well.
Yeah.
They're trying to just like get it out before, by the time it's finished, they've got a whole new way of doing things and they've got to get started on the next,
Yep. Move on to the next one.
I don't envy them their position. It's amazing to see. I have the utmost respect for these guys behind the scenes. I just don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
They're geniuses. They're little geniuses.
They really are.
Yeah.
So how did you said that you had to repitch yourself for Ada for RE2, but how did it come across to you? Where did you find out they were doing it?
Well, I keep track of things that are just kind of happening. So I saw it come down like the breakdowns,
Okay.
like it went out as a casting notice. They were looking for someone. And thank God, since they mentioned the project and they had the character. And I was familiar with the casting director. I immediately was just like, hey, oh my gosh, I'm here. So love to play Ada again. And then I threw in all the projects that I've been working on. And luckily they did bring me in for the audition. But yeah, I had to go in for the first audition with hundreds of other people. And then, we're always like, ugh, I don't know how that went. Because if they had liked me, they would have, just called me anyway, and
Right.
that's not the way it works. I think they were grateful that I reached out. And then I went through the whole process just like everyone else. And thank God they gave me the role.
Yeah, you're the only person that I know of for this remake that is a returning, I guess, actor to the role because everybody else is pretty new. Besides Keith Silverstein, who is the voice of side character Hunk in the universe, but you're the only person I think that was actually had done something in the Resident Evil universe up at that point.
Yeah, I'm really grateful, because they go through like recasts and rewrites and recasts and rewrites. And when you find out that like you've made all of those, like you have no idea how close you are to losing your job,
Yeah, right.
You'll never know if people care about your performance or like if it's good enough or like if, and then you find out after the fact, like once you sort of at this point, once it's out and you tell me something like that and you're like, wow, how lucky did I get,
Yeah, definitely. And when you were auditioning, were you going in with the intention? Was it something they announced that you're playing the full character, or do you think you were going in for one or the other again, for voice or mocap?
Yeah, I thought I was going in for one of the others, so that was really daunting when I got to the audition, and I was like, "Oh no, I didn't prepare my full character." So also, I don't know if you are an actor, if you've gone through this sort of thing. So every awesome audition that you really, really want that you leave, you always end up like weeping in your car, like I was terrible. Oh my god, I was so bad. And all the other girls are these adorable little like Japanese like gymnasts. What I mean? I'm 5'10". I'm a model. I was like, I'm white. I'm 5'10". I'm super skinny. I was like, I blew it. It was terrible. I didn't work on my dialogue, and then you get called in for the callback and you're like, oh, maybe I did okay, maybe I was all right. And then I prepared knowing that it was full performance, and then of course it ups the ante. You get more nervous because you're like, oh well, that's a fuller performance, and what do they want from Ada and what do I want, and then you just have to settle down and just give a performance. So at that point I knew, and then it just made me more nervous. And then I had to sit through that callback with all these like amazing actresses and again was like, I'm never going to book this. I'm never going to book this. But then I did. And so, yeah.
How was your response to that? Were you surprised? I mean, obviously excited, but to get the call back and be like, hey, you got the part, and it's not just mocap. You're going to be Ada now. You get to voice her too.
So excited. This is the kind of stuff we live for. I mean, it's kind of stuff I live for. I mean, they basically just gave me Ada as a character, just like you would in any film or anything else. I was so excited. And I still am. These kind of roles really are a dream come true. They're my favorite projects to work on. And I couldn't be more thrilled because, they give you this and you feel so honored that they've entrusted you with it. And for them, they're also recreating, like, this is all a birthing process for them too. Like, they're just hoping and praying that they're creating a character that people will love. They put their blood and guts and tears into it also. And for them to hand you something like this and just be like, we trust you with this and we're all going to work together to make this come alive. And then you have this sort of team spirit. And then you are such an integral part of the creative process of bringing this out into the world. There is no better feeling for an actor, for someone like me than to do this. So it's the most edifying and exciting experience. I mean, I was really thrilled. I was really, really thrilled. And then you just hope that you can give them everything that they hope and dream for. There is then that pressure to be the best Ada.
Yeah, especially for such a iconic character to the series. And she's been like I was saying in so many different entries, whether the games or the CG movies. They even brought her to the live action movies at one point. So there's got to be and luckily for you, like we were talking earlier, you said that you weren't so familiar with the franchise that you don't play the games. You do your acting, your modeling. This is a part for you, but you are connected to the character and you do understand there's a fan base, so there has to be some kind of pressure knowing what you're bringing, that this character is such a big part.
I don't want to let them down.
Right,
I don't
exactly.
want to let the people that loved Ada, like I get all this amazing fan mail just from the film and things like that. And then, I don't know how people get wind of who's a part of it. But like, there's just like, I let these people down. Like it'll be the hardest moment of my life. So there's that pressure. You don't want to let down the creators, right? But we're all kind of in the same boat. We're all trying to do something. So, whatever happens. But you really just don't want to let the fans down. You want to give them something that they love it so much and they love you so much. So that's the scariest part, is letting them down and not giving them something that they want. So I'm really grateful that it's been received really well and that people are reaching out and they're like, we love your Ada. And you're like, thank God. Thank God.
It's amazing. The game itself is incredible. I'm a huge fan. I grew up playing these games. It's kind of like a turning point in my life. The first time I played Resident Evil 2, I was young. I was going into my teen years. So there was that transition from being a kid to growing into an adult. And that was just a major part of shaping who I was. So to come back to it 20 years later and see how beautiful the game is, how much love was put into it by Capcom and the team, it's incredible.
And I'm just so thrilled that it's getting such great reviews.
It really is.
I think that it's a big risk to take. I mean, I don't know how many rewrites or how many. It's such a big endeavor. And to wonder if people are going to like the more complicated characters. They wanted to add they wanted to change things so much that that was such a risk, and I'm so proud of them, for taking all those risks and for making all the characters more multifaceted and for sort of bringing this more emotional narrative and this more cinematic look to the franchise, because you don't know if the fans are going to revolt, and they're like, this is bullshit, fuck the, you just never know. And to have everyone seemingly, from what I've read, people are really loving it and they're really appreciating all of those efforts. So again, I'm just really so proud of the team and so grateful that
the Resident Evil fan base could be very fickle and they're very vocal when they don't like something. And the anticipation from when they announced it, the 3 years of us waiting from the announcement date to getting a trailer was up and down for everybody, because it went, hey, we're going to do it, and then it went dead silent for nothing. And then we got the trailer finally, and people went nuts. But then there was also that, okay, is this going to be what we all have wanted it to be? Because you kind of build up your own expectations. And then the game comes out, and everybody loved it. And even I had to start a little bit late, because everybody jumped on it like midnight when it came out. And I had to start after work and school and everything. So I sat there for probably 10 minutes just looking at the title screen. I'd played the demo, but this is the full game ready for me to go. And I just looked at it like, I know it's going to be good, but I don't know if I want to do it, because
you nervous?
I was nervous.
Like, oh God, what if this lets me down?
Yeah, I think that was part of it. It was also that kind of like this is really happening.
Yeah.
It's weird. I've never had that happen with like a game in my life or a movie. Obviously, there's the family part. When my son was born, it was also something like that. But this is kind of weird that I did that for a game.
Well, and I think everyone knew that was the spirit of the thing. That's how everyone was going to feel. So it's just magic. I'm just so glad that I'm just so glad that no one was disappointed. I mean, no one. I'm sure there are plenty of disappointed voices out there. I haven't heard them yet. I'm just going to ignore them. But I think it's beautiful. I think it's incredible. And there was one guy on the team, and he was just in tears when it came out. He was just like, because he'd been playing that game since he was a kid.
That's probably Nick then, huh? Yes. Me and Nick had a quick conversation the other day. We're going to be talking to him probably at the end of February. But yeah, he's a big fan, so we and him had a fanboy conversation real quick.
Yeah. So Nick's like, you can come over to my house and we can play it. Okay. So I was like, how does this work? Because when you're going through as an actor, like constantly explaining to you like what's happening and whatever, and then you could always have like Nick run over and be like, and then blah, 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 no. I was just like, thank you for my inspiration. I'm so happy for him, and people love Leon. They really love his character. And, and that's really scary. I mean, Ada's a huge character, but like Leon has to carry this entire thing. And then Nick is so emotionally involved. Like, could you imagine if the fans revolted?
Yeah, I know. Well, luckily they didn't. Luckily everybody loves it.
Wouldn't just be you. We'd be picking Nick up off the floor.
Right. I'm curious, where did you guys record at? I know with Resident Evil 7, they came out a couple years ago. They did it, I think, at the House of Moves, but I don't.
Which Rouge Cap?
Rouge Cap. Is that in California?
Yeah, that's in Marina Del Rey.
Okay, Rouge Cap. So it looks like it was a new team.
All of the mocap and everything, and they had the sound studio in there too.
What's the void like? I've heard it's just this giant open gray space.
It's amazing. Yeah. It's so cool. Like, again, it's like the technology, how far everyone has come. I mean, every time I work on something, I was like, Jesus Christ. It's more and more amazing every single time.
Going from Damnation to now, what are your thoughts on that technology? You said it's obviously it's increased.
It's a whole different world. It's a whole different world. I don't think that we had the technology when I did the film to actually capture the voice and the mocap at the same time. And then we had to go in a completely different studio just to get the facial capture. And so they were different sessions. So everything was like really, really broken down. The space wasn't as big and amazing. You couldn't just like kind of cut and start over. Like I said, every comma, everything on like 3 pages of dialogue had to be exact. And then everyone had to stop if anything was different. It feels so ancient to what we have now. And just in such a short period of time. I mean, now the technology blows me away what we're capable of doing. And it must be so much easier for the production team too, to be able to just get everything at once. And it just be a smoother process. And, hopefully a faster one.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, they knocked this game out in 3 years, so that's pretty quick, especially for the level of detail in this game.
Yeah, isn't it beautiful?
It really is.
Beautiful to watch. Yeah.
So talking about Ada as a character, playing her in Damnation, you kind of got a sense of who she was. She was very cold, secretive. She was a spy. She had that little bit of a soft spot for Leon. But now in this entry, coming back and reintroducing all these characters, remaking them, she seems to be a lot more vulnerable and more personable, I guess. And I want to kind of get your feel about the change of what she was before to bringing her back in this new lighter way, I guess.
Ooh, lighter way. Because it was really, we were all trying to strike a balance, right?
Right.
She's still this cool, cold-hearted sort of, we wanted to still keep everyone on their toes a little bit. Be like, every time there was a more vulnerable emotional scene, we'd have to sort of sort of try to figure out like, well, how genuine are these feelings? How vulnerable is she? Like, where did all this kind of come from? But for me as an actor, clearly I don't want to play just this flat kind of caricature of a person. So then again, you're given this gift of like, well, we're going to make her a bit more vulnerable and we're going to give her more of a storyline. And I don't want to go into any spoilers, but I really love that vulnerability and that emotional quality between her and Leon in this new game. And I think, I just think it's a beautiful through line, and I love that they sort of left it kind of open ended. And I have to say, it was beautiful to play. It was really, really fun to do that, because she's a multifaceted character. She's not just one thing. And I loved it. I felt it was beautiful. I really hope that the viewers really loved it. Because, you were a little bit afraid, because there's this one thing that she is, and then they took a risk to be like, well, what if we make her not quite so much that way? Are people going to be like, no, we don't want her to be this vulnerable person. We don't want her to be touchable, or anything to be able to sort of get through her armor,
Yeah.
And I hope we struck a good balance, so that, she was given this gentler side to her, or at least this opening for her and Leon.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool.
And it's beautiful. The way you worded that, her armor is very much her persona that she puts out, her character that she herself is playing. Because she's a spy. She has to put that out front, that this like you said, armor. And you see the vulnerability, which part of that you start to, you pick up on as part of her manipulating Leon. But then at the end, she drops that armor down. And I think that's why I've always loved Ada so much, is that even though she puts up the front and does her job, but there's something underneath that that's very sweet and loving. She just is stuck in between these two worlds of what she needs to be and what she wants to be.
Yeah, I kind of felt like, this really showed that she's just like everybody else. That's a very human quality. I think that they finally, not finally, I think that's why, what you just said, that's why people like Ada. I think that's why she's popular as a character.
Yeah.
Is that she offers all of these different things. And it was nice for them to finally like dive a little deeper into that. Yeah.
And she also kicks a lot of ass. So
seriously kicks ass. Like you want Ada on your side, and I know that, well, no, I don't want to give any spoilers for anyone who hasn't played the game yet, but she's indomitable. She's indestructible.
Right.
And I love that about her. And then you see and hear, like, maybe she's a little bit destructible.
Just a little bit. Just,
you can get in there.
Yeah, a couple cheeks in the armor there.
Yeah. So it's cool. I love her.
So between Damnation to doing the comeback for Remake, did you, in the process of knowing that you're going in for Ada and all that, did you do any brushing up on her character, or do any kind of research on her?
No, because I knew that. First of all, because I felt an ownership of her.
Right.
I was like, this is mine now, and I get to do it. And because I'd played her before, I got a gist of how things were going, and I didn't like a lot of the. This was the new, improved version of everything, right? So I kind of took that tact with it. That was like, well, here we are today making an Ada that we are sort of bringing into this new world, 2019, 2020. So I didn't kind of want to go back and rehash any of that, because I felt like that's what we were trying not to do.
Right.
And I also trusted that, when you go through this process and someone hires you, they have a lot of trust in you. So I just sort of, working with the creators and the writers and the director, with Tom and everything, like, we could hash out what we wanted. And if someone had said, hey, go back and look at this thing about Ada, I would have done that, but I didn't feel like that's what we were doing. I feel like I embodied enough of her that they wanted me to play the part. And then I also wanted to embrace this newer, upgraded, sort of more modern role for her.
Yeah, it's a good point, because
I didn't go back and do any of that.
That's a good point too, because you're not coming into the series later after the fact. You're going back and reinventing her, basically. So you don't really have to do that. I mean, you knew the character already, but you didn't have to figure out who she'd become, because you're going back and remaking her.
And we're kind of becoming the new her together, all of us, the entire team. Like, they're creating a new Ada, the director's creating new, I'm creating, we're all in it together. So yeah, I kind of wanted to take that journey. And I felt that would serve everyone's purpose more than trying to rehash an old character where the writers have already taken all the elements of Ada that they liked and wanted, and then, built upon those.
Right.
And so that's sort of my, thoughts behind it, sort of my way I wanted to drive it.
Were you kept to like a strict format for what they had written, or were you allowed to give some kind of freedom in expressing her?
No, I had all the freedom in the world. That's the beauty of having an amazing director. Always a big shout out to Tom Keegan. It was a collaborative effort. I mean, he was definitely the man driving the train, but no one was like, do it like this. This is how it must be. They were like, what do you think? How do you feel? Again, they don't hire you unless they value your input. They're not sort of just hiring a bunch of robots to do their bidding. I think, and especially someone like Tom, I mean, I don't want to speak for him, but he seemed to me to be someone who fed off of his actors as much as, I think he liked the creative collaborative spirit. So no one sort of told me to do things in a certain way. We kind of all worked it out together. And, you just have to trust that they're giving you the feedback that's going to steer you in the right direction. And clearly, Tom does that. That's what makes him a genius director.
I love to hear that. I love that he was embracing that you guys are professionals, and he's allowing you to bring yourself into the character and help build it what his expectation is. What parts of Ada's character resonate with you, and what parts of you do you think you put into her?
That's such an interesting question. Such a fun question because I play a lot of parts like this. I play a lot of like kind of strong women.
Yeah, you do. Definitely do.
And no one is just one thing, right? It's kind of like so. And I think in life, I am a very strong personality. I'm a very like alpha female, but I'm also like Ada, incredibly vulnerable and compassionate. And so, I mean, Ada's not, I'm a lot softer than Ada. I'm not like, but that combination of strong and soft, I think I'm a lot like that in real life. And so I play a lot of those characters, and I think that's what I could bring to her. They made her a real person, and I think that's what they wanted to do.
Right.
So, just like any other strong male character, they'll have a very strong, icy persona maybe when they have to survive. It's sort of a survival instinct. Mm-hmm. Then there's also someone underneath that's a real person who's, has feelings and thoughts about things. And, so, I think she's a heightened, almost any character you play is a heightened idea of kind of who you are as a person. But I felt like I could bring everything that I am in real life to her. And there's that strong, steely, get things done, don't fuck around kind of aspect of who I am.
Right.
Don't take me shit, But on the other side, I'm still a very vulnerable, soft, nice person. It's not, so yeah, you can bring all of that. And the writers brought all of that is what they did. And then they just trusted that we were humans and not just actors and brought all of those things. So.
And acting out this part, spending this time with Nick and playing Ada from before, knowing her history with Leon. Leon is that kryptonite for her, basically. He's that thing that kind of throws her off her course and brings that vulnerability out. What are your thoughts on that relationship between Leon and Ada?
It's funny when you say that. It's like now that we finished filming, I still think about the relationship between Leon and Ada. Like, I'm still like, like, what does it mean? Like, what are they? And even while we're shooting it, there's no definite, we'd all sit around and be like, well, what's going on here? Like, well, so how do they feel? Like, where are we? And it's always this like nebulous place. And I don't know how the fans feel. I don't know how it feels watching it. I hope that it feels the same way I do, where you're still a little bit unsure. You're like, what's going on with them? Like, what's going to happen to them? Like, is there a future for them? Was there a past for them? What's going, I still feel a bit like that. Like there are these holes where I'm unsure, which is funny because I kind of feel like that's real life too, right? You're in a relationship and you still kind of like, what happened there? Like, who are we? Are we destined to be together? Are we so that's kind of how I feel about their relationship. I feel like it seems like it's obvious that something is going on between them, but then at the same time, what I love about the relationship is they couldn't be more different.
Right.
And that they made him a bit softer and a little bit more multifaceted, and then they kind of did the same thing with her. And I was like, ooh, is this where they're going to kind of meet in the middle somewhere? So their relationship is still a bit of an enigma to me. I still sort of think about it and fantasize about it as if I was an audience member. So I think that's a positive thing. I like that because I think there's a bit of mystery and a little bit of, because they can never quite seal the deal, right? The stakes are too high.
Right.
There's always that. And I think that's what makes it so romantic and what makes it such an emotional cliffhanger is that we don't know what can happen or what would happen. Given different circumstances or like, cause this world never comes to an end. There's never like a peace or like, okay, well, here's the end where everyone is safe and these people run off and do, so I don't know if that answers your question, but that's how I feel about them. And I love it. I love their relationship.
Yeah. And I think, that does answer it. And it also brings up the point of Leon at the very beginning, when he first meets Ada in Resident Evil 2, he's very naive. He's a very Boy Scout, go get her good guy. That just wants to save everyone. And then he meets Ada, and Ada is the secret spy. She's very tough. Like I said, she's an alpha. And they're contrasting because he wants to protect her, and she's like, I don't need to be protected. And then by the end of it, they develop this kind of a romance between them. And she, as much as she would love to be with Leon, can't because of the world that she lives in. But as Leon grows as a character throughout the series, before Remake, when the series was going like normal, Leon actually becomes kind of like her. He becomes this tough, highly trained, very distant person that has his own demons he's fighting with. And I think it's funny to see that he became a representation of her. And instead of, he could have always been the good guy, but he seems to be getting colder as he gets older.
Yeah, I think that's such a groovy kind of dark twist.
Yeah.
Especially for Leon's character, because he is sort of like doe-eyed and and he
And I think a big part of her is why he became like that too.
Yeah.
Her influence on him. And they cross paths a lot. They're always in this series together. Wherever Leon goes, Ada seems to show up. So going back that this is a remake, and the future is infinite possibilities at this point. If they want to go make more versions of the other games or make completely new games, and Ada has a possibility of coming back, obviously I'm sure you want to come back as Ada again.
Oh my God, of course. If they would have me, I would fight for that, just like I did this one.
Well, we'd hope so. I think you did incredible. You were absolutely amazing. Physically, just bringing her physically to the game, as well as the voice, phenomenal. You did a great job.
Thank you for saying that. It's all we care about.
and I mean, Ada is up there as one of my all-time favorite characters. Like my top 3 would be Wesker, who's one of the series bad guys. I don't know why I have a thing for the bad guys. They're
fun. They're so fun.
And then Ada is number 2 to that. I love her as a character. So I'm happy that you were able to do such a great job and do your own thing that still lives up to who Ada is as a character.
I'm really glad I didn't let you down. I'm really glad you loved her.
You did great.
Thanks so much. Thank you so much. It means everything.
Now you're also a model on top of acting, and you act a lot and you do a lot of modeling. That's got to be kind of challenging, I guess, to manage both of those careers.
No, they're pretty easy to kind of put together. I think when you're, I'm 5'10", my body looks a certain way. Like I have these really like strange facial features or whatever, so I end up playing on television and in film, sort of like characters like that. I'm always sort of like an agent gone rogue or some sort of secret agent or something kind of exotic and sort of strange. So the two really lend themselves to each other. People kind of know what they're getting. And so I don't find them very different. And, I feel like fashion and modeling and photo shoots and things like that, like editorial things, are very cinematic. I mean, you really are, you're trying to sort of recreate a moment, like an idea. You're sort of selling a fantasy, and it's, hours and hours and hours of hair and makeup and styling and storyboarding and all that kind of stuff, just like you do for a film or a video game or anything else. So I've always found them very easy to mesh together, and they kind of help each other out a little bit. So they're not like two completely separate things for me. And it's kind of fun to do both, because as an actress, I get to play these really interesting, really kind of crazy, wild, kind of edgy roles. And I get to do the same thing as a model. So it's all really fun, and it's all kind of the same thing as far as I'm concerned. I love it.
Which one do you think is more difficult?
Oh, acting.
Acting, okay.
And I have to say, that's what's fun sometimes too, is like I get really stuck into something where, there's a lot of the memorization, you have all this pressure, and, like trying to bring Ada to life is a lot of work and a lot of pressure and a lot of stress and all this, and then you just go off and, do a runway show somewhere for a week, and like it's completely mindless. You just get to hang out and watch other people be creative.
Yeah.
And then you're just kind of their muse, and all you have to do is just sort of pull it off. It's not like, it doesn't take a whole lot of anything. You just sort of have to be a dancing monkey, if you will. You just have to be present. You have to go on stage. You have to let people pimp and put things on you and make you do, but it's such a nice like vacation to be able to model and then go back to acting and then go do something else and then come back to acting. So acting's a lot harder. But I have to say modeling's a guilty pleasure. And, again, the creative side of fashion and beauty and all of that kind of stuff is just as incredible and inspiring as the creative teams behind making something like this. They're just as serious about what they do, and they tend to blow my mind just as much. And I really feel like we're just lucky to be able to play in their world,
Yeah.
more than anything else. So.
Do you have like a dream professionally, whether between modeling or acting, that you really, 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 really want to accomplish? The ultimate goal, the top that would be like, okay, I've done it.
That's funny. Things like this make me feel that way. You know what I mean? I don't know. I get to work on a lot of fun things. Like I've had a lot of projects throughout my life that I was like, this is what I dreamed of. This is what I wanted to do and be a part of. So a question like that's interesting because I just want to keep working. I just want to keep being able to be part of projects like this and make films that I want to make and be on TV shows that I love. And, there's not an ultimate dream. It's like, you want to get on that TV show that people really love and that really affects people and changes, it has all the social changes that people, you want to be part of that. But, being a part of something like this has that same feeling. Like this it was like a dream come true kind of project.
Yeah.
So I just want more of this, more of just moving forward and continuing to collaborate with people that really inspire me, that I'm thrilled to work with, and to work on things I'm proud of, to constantly feel when I am working that we're creating something for people that they'll love, just to keep feeling that way and to keep working in this capacity is my ultimate dream. So
awesome. So do you have anything coming up that you want us to be looking out for? Anything you can talk about?
Oh God, don't you hate that you can't talk about?
I know.
Working on a really cool video game that I can't talk about for a really long time. But I do get to play like another strong evil character, which is fun. And I just had a movie come out on Netflix called Prodigy that was like a thriller. I've got a film coming out called Seven Devils, which is sort of like a horror psychological thriller.
Oh, cool.
I just did an episode of the TV show. What's it called? A show for Showtime. Am I allowed to say that? Actually, I don't know if I can. Oh my gosh, I don't think I can.
Okay.
I did an episode of The Affair, and then I'm getting ready to shoot like an alien, like an action film called Attack of the Unknown. And so.
Oh yeah, I saw that one. I was curious about that.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. So just a bunch of, there's a bunch of stuff out there to look for. It'll all come out eventually, and then a lot of things I can't talk about, they'll come out eventually.
Awesome.
So yeah, just keep an eye out.
So keeping an eye out, where can the fans follow you so they can keep up with what you're doing?
Well, I do have a Facebook fan page, and that's just Jolene Andersen, actress model. I'm up on Instagram at Jolene Andersen, and I'm sort of on Twitter at Andersen Jolene. But things I kind of connect all those things when I post things. So Facebook's the best way to get on my fan page. That way we can actually chat.
Okay.
And I'll actually see you on there. So that's my favorite way to kind of interact with everyone.
Might be
and they can
first
post
guest.
things there if they want. Come again?
You might be the first guest that actually says Facebook over Instagram or something.
Really? Oh, I guess I'm a little bit behind the curve, but it's just so much easier. I love it. And I feel like the format is there. Like I can watch a lot more videos and I can find people there and I can seek them out. I feel like Instagram sometimes is a bit limiting if I want to find out about people because it's just sort of photos and
right.
I don't know. I feel like you can dive a little deeper and other people I think can post things on my Facebook, or they tag me or I don't know. It just feels a little bit more interactive and it feels a bit more personable. So that's funny. It might just because I'm a bit of a Luddite and I'm not, you'll see on those pages, I don't keep up with it very often. But there is a lot of messaging going on behind the scenes. I get to stay in touch with people. So, Facebook's my favorite. And of course you can check me out on IMDb and see what else I've been doing. It's always nice to.
Yeah. You have a long list of credits.
Yeah.
But I think Facebook is like you said, it's more personable. Instagram is very much, this is me, this is my story. But Facebook is more like communication and there's that back and forth.
Yeah. And I feel like you can post more stuff on it.
Yeah, definitely.
Instagram. Yeah.
I do have one question from one of our patrons who goes by Devil. Nice name.
Right.
I'm going to kind of rephrase this because we have touched on it, but he wants to know what it feels like to play someone so important in our universe. But I'm going to rephrase that since we've talked about it. How does it feel to be part of the universe now, to be such a big character, like your connection to the fans, basically?
Awesome. I mean, awesome. When you ask me what my dream role, my ultimate goal is, like this kind of thing is awesome. I don't even know what else to say. The opportunity is incredible. I love being a part of it. It's completely life fulfilling. It's creatively fulfilling. I love the connection with everyone. It's absolutely incredible. It's like the highlight of my career. It's one of the highlights of my life, honestly. That's what it feels like.
So do you have any closing thoughts for them? Anything you want to say to the fans?
Thank you. Thank you so much for accepting my new Ada and for still loving her and for not being disappointed by what we've put out there, for loving this new franchise and all the hard work that everyone's put in. So that's about it. I'm honored to play this role, and I'm just so grateful that you love her.
Yes, definitely do. You killed it. You crushed it.
Thanks so much.
It came out so good. All around everybody, Ada was incredible. Your work was incredible. They wrote her amazingly. The game is beautiful. Well, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, it's a great conversation. And you obviously love the series. You love the character. You love the fans. Just so happy I was able to talk to you.
Oh, me too. Thanks for having me. And reach out anytime.
Definitely. All right, guys, that's it. Jolene Andersen. Wonderful, wonderful. We had a great talk here. Thank you again, Jolene. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Bye, guys.
Well, that'll conclude our episode for today. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please leave a like and subscribe for more upcoming interviews with the cast of Resident Evil 2 Remake. The Residents of Evil is a Patreon-supported show, so if you'd like to help support the channel and unlock some great perks in return, head over to patreon.com/ROE Network. This episode of the Residents of Evil podcast was brought to you by our Master of Unlocking Patreon members: The Patched Vest, Devil, Devin L. Duso, Proxy1, Christopher Cedric, and Trent Overton. Thank you all so much for watching, and we hope to see you back at the Residents of Evil.